Good evening. I'd like to call to order the study session for December 15th, 2025. We have one issue tonight, which is the Lutheran Legacy Campus update. We will start our study session as we always do with public comment. Citizens may comment, well, as long as you'd like, on any item on the agenda tonight. We have one person signed up, Taylor Tate. You may come on up to the podium and then we will go from there.
Hi, Council and Mayor. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Taylor Tate with Congresswoman Brittany Petterson's office. I also wanted to congratulate everyone who was just elected and also provide a document to Councilor Wood. Congratulations on your appointment. The other thing, I'll just plug ourselves. I don't have much to talk about Lutheran Legacy Campus, but for our constituent services, if you or anyone you know would like to reach out to our office for assistance with a federal agency, our office was proud to recover and save over $6 million for constituents throughout casework in the past year. So we're always there to help. No matter what next year looks like or this year look like, we're here. So thank you guys very much. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Taylor. All right, we will go to, we don't have anybody signed up online. No. We will go to agenda item number 1. Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation on this?
You gonna advance for me? I don't know, does the remote work? Oh, good. Does it work on this, on the PDF? Oh, it does. Oh, nice. Okay, great. All right, thank you, Mayor. Council, we're here this evening to provide a comprehensive summary of the journey that the city has taken thus far on the redevelopment of the Lutheran campus. It's after putting this memo together that was in your packet, it was fun to put this memo together because it has been a journey and several years of work on this project, but we've come a long way, gotten a lot done. With 4 new council members this evening, we thought it would be appropriate to start kind of from the very beginning of this project and give a brief summary of all the milestones that we've accomplished, then also talk about what's coming up. And then we have E5X and their team here. We'll introduce them here in a bit. And they have a presentation as well this evening to talk about where they're at from their perspective. They're the brand new owner as of last week of the property. So things are moving. So next slide. Thanks, Lauren. So SCL Health purchased 26 acres in 2018. So it goes back that far at the Clear Creek Crossing development to build a new state-of-the-art hospital. As you all know, the previous Lutheran Hospital been around for many, many years, over 100 years. And was kind of obsolete. So they were excited to find some new property to build a new hospital. Shortly after they purchased this property, SCL merged with Intermountain Health. So that kind of happened during this whole time. They merged in 2022. So now it's Intermountain Health Lutheran Hospital. The new hospital did open August 2024, I believe August 3rd, if I remember. It's a Saturday, all in one day. They moved everybody over. But also in the meantime, before they moved, SCL was preparing to market the Legacy Campus, is what we're calling it, for sale in 2020. But the city, specifically Lauren, put some brakes on that and asked them to pause until we could complete a master plan for the site. We didn't, well, I'll let Lauren go to the next slide and she can explain why we chose that path.
We chose that path We chose that path because the campus was zoned only for medical uses, and we anticipated if property hits the market, we'll get phone calls. Somebody will say, what's the city's vision? What's the highest and best use? And we needed a master plan to give us those answers. So city asked SCL Health to pause and partner with us to go through that master planning process, that community-driven process. They agreed, they understood the need for that as well. They actually funded the process, city staff managed it, and together we led a 6-month public engagement effort, really asking the community to create a vision and set priorities for what they thought the campus could look like after it was a hospital. So that work is what resulted in the Lutheran Legacy Campus Master Plan, which council adopted in October of 2021. From there, the master plan, it's not a short document. I brought a copy if we need it for reference, but essentially it describes what matters most to our community. So plenty of open space, a mix of housing types, preservation of the chapel and the Blue House, inclusion of civic uses, hopefully a little bit of retail, and perhaps most importantly, a development pattern that transitions thoughtfully from the campus itself, from essentially a new neighborhood, to the surrounding neighborhoods through use of buffers and land use regulations and building heights. So once the vision was adopted, we translated that into zoning rules and regulations. And we brought at one point to a study session, we literally highlighted every sentence in the master plan that could be translated into an enforceable standard. So for example, open space goals became the requirement that 20% of the site be public open space. And neighborhood compatibility aspirations became low density perimeter overlays with specific height and use and setback limits. And preservation goals became requirements to retain and tell us the reuse for the chapel and the Blue House. And tree preservation actually became a new approach in our code, a campus-specific tree protection and replacement policy. Luckily, because the plan is detailed, the zoning is detailed too. And so the result was essentially a 50-page ordinance that was adopted in early 2025 and applied to the site through a rezoning in April of this year. Building height is typically regulated through zoning, and in Wheat Ridge, it's also embedded in our charter, as you know. And so that means that Wheat Ridge voters had a really direct and meaningful role in shaping the height standards for the Legacy campus. You'll recall that the 2024 ballot included a charter amendment. It was informed by the master plan and public engagement. That the charter amendment limited building heights to 5 stories in the middle of the campus and to 2.5 stories along the perimeter. Those limits were essentially created as a part of an important trade-off, allowing density in the middle internally to protect adjacent neighborhoods and also to create the land that we wanted to achieve our open space goals. And that approach was understood and approved by 67% of voters just over a year ago.
Thanks, Lauren. So after the master planning process was complete, Intermountain did market the Legacy campus for sale. 10 proposals were received and narrowed down to 3. City staff was able to interview the 3 finalists, and we provided, I think it was Lauren and I, provided feedback to Intermountain. E5X, again, who's here this evening, was eventually chosen, and they closed just this last week. So, right, last week? Yes, so they're the official new owners. So good timing here this evening. The redevelopment of the Legacy campus will necessitate significant public and private capital infrastructure improvements. The master plan recommended the creation of both a metropolitan district and also an urban renewal area and plan as funding strategies and financing tools to help with that. Intermountain submitted a service plan, they were the applicant at the time, to the city for the creation of the Legacy Metropolitan District. The city council approved that plan in February of this year still, 2025. The service plan allows for a maximum debt of 110 million and maximum mill levy of 67 mills. Future property owners will be the only ones who will pay that additional mill. Nobody else outside of the Metro District boundaries, which is essentially the campus. That mill will help pay back the bonds that will be issued by the Metro District to help, again, finance the public infrastructure within the campus. City Council also authorized the creation of an urban renewal area and plan for the Lutheran Legacy Campus. A condition survey for the property, which is required by state law, indicated there are blighting factors present on the campus which meet the criteria, again, in Colorado law. City Council approved a new urban renewal plan in September of this year, which authorizes the use of property tax increment, or TIF, to assist in addressing the blight on the campus and also assisting in paying for the construction of public improvements. And then Wheat Ridge, the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority, doing business as Renewal Wheat Ridge, did approve a finance agreement also with E5X to pledge that increment to the Metro District to pay for those improvements for the lesser of $75 million or 25 years. So just in summary, this is a quick timeline of the key milestones that we've accomplished. And as Lauren mentioned, the master plan was adopted back in 21. That was after Lutheran purchased the property at Clear Creek Crossing in 2018. The charter amendment 24, mixed-use zoning was created. And in January of 25, the Metropolitan District was approved. The campus was rezoned. Official announcement was made for E5X in May. Urban renewal plan was approved in September, and the public finance agreement was approved just in December. So those were the key milestones. So what's next?
With planning and zoning and financing tools really all in place, the city's role is shifting, has been shifting from a visionary, vision setting, proactive role to a development review role. Mostly my department. So this will include a concept plan that creates an overall framework. It ensures that we're sort of master planning the site, even if it develops in phases. We'll have multiple subdivision plats in this case. You won't see those. Those are administrative. They're really technical documents prepared by a surveyor, creating lots and easements, either for sale or for development. That'll happen for each site and every single lot out there. We'll have multiple site plans come through for review. Those are the more fun documents because they show more details, so architecture and landscaping, and then a long series of permits from demolition, for infrastructure, and for each individual building. And for a project of this size, review and construction, we've been telling this to the community, you know, feels like we're already 4 years in. It will probably still be many years out through review and construction and full build out. At each step in each of those application types, our staff reviews for compliance with the zoning code or the building code or whichever applicable regulations. And the community will continue to receive updates. Some of these processes require mailings or neighborhood meetings, some of which we've already done. And because of the scope of the project, we will continue to keep the What's Up Wheat Ridge page updated.
So as Lauren mentioned earlier, the master plan did envision civic uses on the Lutheran Legacy Campus and recommended that the city consider looking at potentially new municipal building or civic center on the site. The city did complete a facilities master plan back in 2023, which did determine that this building and many of other buildings that we have in the city are becoming obsolete and don't provide the adequate space and amenities that are required for the delivery of modern government programs and services. So the city did hire an architect, Anderson House, to explore potential options for a move to the Legacy campus. Initial design options are modeled after, as you see here, what the Lutheran Hospital looked like back in 1932. So the picture, obviously up in the left-hand corner, was a drawing of what looked like part of the chapels on the left. And there's still an existing building clear on the right you can't really see, but everything in the middle was taken down over the years. So that's kind of the focus of what we're looking at for a potential new building, civic center on this campus. And then there's just a few other here quick diagrams of layout on where the campus, civic campus would be. You'll see a little bit more of that in Chris's presentation a little bit later. Next slide. So staff is currently, again, speaking of what's next, staff is currently negotiating with E5X and their team on how to make this happen. Current direction is to enter into a land exchange agreement. We talked about this with the previous council. So to enter into a land exchange agreement with E5X where the city would get approximately 4.5 acres on the Lutheran Legacy campus, and E5X in exchange would get 4.5 acres of this campus, this current civic center site. This campus is about 9 acres. The other 5 acres is encumbered by a reverter from Open Space, Jefferson County Open Space. So if anything, if this site ever redevelops without the county's permission, Open Space's permission, that park will have to stay, the Hayward Park out here. Let's see. Lost my slide here. So these are just some very high-level key points of the land exchange agreement. We're still negotiating with E5X, so we're not going to get into all the real specifics this evening. But the land exchange agreement, as it's written today, would provide significant due diligence period and reverter rights for both parties if, for instance, the city cannot secure funding to make this project happen. There's some other conditions in there as well. Mr. Dahl was very key in helping write this, so he can help answer some questions that you may have on that. So the next steps are several items. One, to accept all the development submittals from E5X and other parties to make sure that they're in compliance with our master plan and zoning. Finalize the land exchange agreement and proceed with final design of a building, a civic center, and then planning for the financing, how we're going to finance this for a new civic center. That's going to be the big lift. And then third, just to continue monitoring all the current financial agreements that URA has and the city will have with E5X to ensure that all the appropriate public infrastructure is being delivered at this site as promised. So with that was a very quick overview of the last several years since 2018, but now I want to turn it over to Chris Elliott with E5X to introduce himself. Many of you met him, but some of you are new, and he has a quick presentation as well to talk about updates from the perspective of the owner.
Thank you, Patrick. Chris Elliott. We've obviously, thank you. We've had an opportunity to meet most of you, and we really prize the opportunity to get to know you, and we look forward to getting to know the rest of you soon as well. This is a dynamic city. I don't want to puff up for Patrick and Lauren, but they're probably one of the best staff that exists in the Denver metro area, and we deal with a lot of them. And I can't tell you how great they've been to work with, how practical and interested in making a deal work as they have. So you should be very proud of them and the staff that works for them. I get the fun job with the slides because I get to show you the concepts that we're now moving towards final design and reality, hopefully fairly soon. As I think both Patrick and Lauren have indicated, the concept of the master plan and ultimately the zoning that was approved last spring has been that you have a predominance of residential uses on the site, and that where you abut existing residential neighborhoods, you have similar densities, similar uses. Most of it's single-family homes, single-family and duplex homes that are adjacent, and they are typically 1 and 2 stories. They are spread out, and the goal was to try to match as much as possible a lot of what was immediately adjacent so that we could fit the new community into the existing community. And then as you move towards the center, then greater densities would be permitted, and the greater densities would include things like townhomes And then when you got to the ultimate middle of the site, you would look to do some multifamily, and you would also allow only in those places higher densities as well as higher building heights. And then as you move from south to north, it gets more intense as you move from the south area to the north area. There's also an importance to preserve a lot of the natural features of the property. There's the Rocky Mountain Ditch, which runs through the site. If you're all familiar with the campus, it's probably the dominant feature running from west to east, and it contains a lot of trees and open spaces that follow that particular ditch. And then the campus is really divided up amongst a couple of parkways. And the parkways are generally wide with tree-lined services, and we intend to preserve all of that as we further our plans. What you see here is really the front door. This is what it would look like as you come in from 38th. The Mediterranean architecture, the use of the Spanish tile on the roofs, the blonde brick is pervasive throughout the site. It's used in the hospital buildings and really all of the other structures that have been built out there. And it's our intent to use that same sort of appearance architecturally in all of the public features, and then mandate that the architecture within the community keep some of those same traditional appearances that we've all come to expect with Wheat Ridge. So this would be coming in primarily from the easterly access, which is known as Lutheran Parkway North at 38th. And then if you, I get to do that, don't I? Maybe. There we go. Here's the plan. Excuse me. And this is the land use plan. It's in essence what I described. The areas along the left and right side are the areas that abut the existing community, and that's where the lower densities will be located. Single-family homes and some duplex will be along the exterior, and then as you move in from there, the colors that are predominantly the lighter purple and the orangish color represent the higher densities. And then with those higher densities will come the taller structures. The area that's in green that cuts diagonally from the left to right is the Rocky Mountain Ditch, and that's going to be our focal point. Up on the top is the location of as Patrick described, the original hospital. And we've looked to emulate that particular appearance and worked with the city's architectural firm to come up with a plan that locates that civic component in the middle. And then to the right of that will be the chapel that exists today, which we will be preserving, and then the other structure, which we've affectionately called the Blue House. And both of those we expect to integrate into a retail commercial kind of a use. And what did I do? Anyway, that'll be the area immediately to the right of that. There we go. On the left-hand side, we anticipate one of hopefully a few structures that will focus on affordability. It will be a building. We're working on a contract with a builder who will do a senior restricted, affordable tower at that location. And we expect to integrate affordable uses throughout the campus. In the middle, you see the three squares, the three outlines. Those represent the existing medical campus. There's 3 medical office buildings that are in those locations. And we're working with the owner of those 3 buildings to either integrate them into our plan or acquire them and develop that property for a higher density residential purpose. One of the other things that we want to accomplish here, and it's hard to see, but along the upper area where the multifamily is, on both sides, there's a grove of trees that are shown there, and we want to honor the Lutheran campus and all it's represented in the last 125 years. We want to do something that will allow people who have a history there to have an opportunity to honor those folks that may have worked there, that may have been in the hospital, that may have been born in the hospital, and honor that whole arrangement on a permanent basis. And we'll do that in those promenades along there. This particular slide is a little bit dated because things have changed a bit, but it generally represents the amount of open space that we will be including. There will be a handful of pocket parks that will contain everything from playgrounds to other facilities based upon the targeted age of the folks that'll be within the immediate vicinity. And then connecting it all back up to the civic area, and we'll fix it so that everybody has an opportunity to engage, and we'll invite not only this community but the broader community to participate. This is the original master plan that Lauren and Patrick referred to, that was done some time ago, that involved not only city staff but the community. And the plans that I've shown you conform to this particular master plan. This brings us back to the entryway. And this is what it looks like at night. This is how we're going to treat the entryways. And similar sort of treatments will be done on the westerly entry as well as the entry from 32nd. Guess that's it. Oh, did I? Another view of the walkways and the connections. This is the Blue House. This is, we're working with some folks who are interested in utilization of the Blue House. In its history, the Blue House was used as a tea room. It's also been used as a restaurant. And one of the things that we're contemplating is returning that same sort of a use for that. Also incorporating outside uses to augment its ability to serve within the community. A daytime view. And then one of the things that we want to try and do is create an amenity for the community that is available all year long. And what this shows is a concrete entertainment area that can be used for ice skating in the wintertime, some other small pools and other things in the summertime. This is a reimagination of the chapel and being able to use that for other purposes that would allow it to be used for gathering places. And then you can see the pop-up fountains and some of the other uses there within that general use area. In the background there is a retail site contemplated to be something on the order of a coffee shop, grab and go, something that allows the folks within the community to walk to and grab something before work or after work. And then here's that area I was talking about. In the summertime, you have a green space that you can purpose in all sorts of different things. And then a broader view of that, the grab and go. And then other things that you can do with that very same space at other times of the year. You'll notice in the foreground on the right is the tan and yellowish building. That's actually one of the old tuberculosis tents. It's our intent to make that a part of the permanent community as well. This particular slide shows the single-family homes that would be along the western perimeter. This is Dudley Street on the western side. And those of you that are familiar with Dudley, it's partially complete. It would require additional paving, curb and gutter, and a sidewalk. We'll be putting all of those things in, so it really creates a complete street in the area. The brick wall, the wrought iron fencing, that'll all be part of identifying this as being within the legacy community. Again, I mentioned playgrounds. We'll have those. This particular one is also comes off of the Dudley side and extends to the center of the community. You'll notice the fox. Of course, you guys have a fox statue right outside, so we honor the fox in Wheat Ridge. Some other visions of the walkways within the community. And that brings you right back. We appreciate the opportunity. We do look forward to working out, I think, a very unique concept in the potential for swapping our site to become your new civic area for this particular location. We've involved Carolyn White, who is probably the preeminent expert on these kinds of agreements, and we look forward to working with you as we move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Do we have any questions from council? Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. In the staff presentation, we talked a little bit about the canopy protection, and it was described as a policy. Are the details of that policy available for us to discuss here, or maybe in paper after this meeting?
Sure, it's a regulation in the zoning code, so it's one of the provisions in chapter 26.
Okay.
So it's been crafted, adopted, and applied to the site, but we can certainly at some point describe how it might apply. The owners have done a tree survey, and that will inform, once we know what has to leave or not, what gets retained or replaced.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to ask, are there any updates about the progress that we're making in the potential of the library? This might be a premature question, but I wanted to see if there's any updates there.
Not a premature question, frustrating question. We've met with them. Mr. Elliott is also can tell you he's met with them several times, numerous times. I think they're still trying to figure out what their needs are in their district as a whole, and also in Wheat Ridge. We've offered them many, I think, opportunities and options on the campus to fit in, and unfortunately, we just have not gotten a clear answer or response from them. They still are at the table a little bit. We got an email 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's like, hey, we might be interested. can you fit us in? And I asked them specifically what their needs are now, because again, it's been very unclear on what their needs were space-wise, and we haven't heard back. So, love to have them there, but I think at some point we're going to have to move forward.
Okay. And my last question is about the enclosure of the ditch. I think the plan is still to enclose the ditch and have it be kind of open on either end. But I just want to confirm that that's still currently the plan. I heard something somewhere about breaking it up so that there's multiple openings, but it seems like with this plan that currently it's going to have an opening on either end and then be enclosed throughout the campus. Is that right?
That's the most likely outcome. So what happens when any development site has a ditch running through it, it's that ditch company that gets to decide, does it get rerouted and stay open, or does it get enclosed? Typically, what we've observed is that ditch companies like to see those enclosed so that the water quality isn't impeded and they've got sort of less maintenance issues. So the Rocky Mountain Ditch in this case has made that request, and the alternative that they offered was that we put a 6-foot tall chain link fence on both sides of the ditch, which we thought would undermine the urban design character that we're going for. So yes, that's the most likely outcome here.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Counselor Larson.
And thank you, Mayor. And I guess we are at a bit of a milestone in this process right now, but my sort of immediate concerns have to do with the old building and demolition. And do we know about when the demolition will start?
Chris, or somebody from your team, can you answer that?
We intend to start demolition with the West Pines facility on the kind of the southeast side, and the building at the northeast corner that looks like a house. We'll be taking those down first, and then we'll move from there right into the hospital. So I would expect that within the next 3, 4, 5 months, you'll see that work commencing.
And inside the original hospital building, the older buildings, you have to probably anticipate there's going to be some issues that require some mitigation, asbestos, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. We've done exhaustive testing and have complete reports on exactly what we have to do. What remediation we have to do includes RBMs and asbestos, and all of that will have to be removed before the structure can be torn down. Structures.
So, yeah, and help us understand that process. When you're going to be required to remove asbestos from the interior of the building, what are the steps involved?
I'm not an asbestos expert, so I can't tell you exactly, but they do remove the asbestos internally. They encase it, and then they take it out, all under the auspices of the Colorado Department of Public Health. And they're inspecting as we go. There's a whole series of permits that are required and inspections that are required as you go. But all of that will be done first. And then once it gets a clean bill of health, then you do the demo.
And then the next phase, once the demolition is completed, and the memo mentions the due diligence that will come after that, and it makes reference to a phase 2 environmental study. My guess is that the odds are fairly high that there will be some contamination, some liquids or materials underneath the old hospital, because we're talking about a building that's over 100 years old and operated way before some of the environmental controls we have now. Do you have any sort of a preview or an idea of what you might run into when it comes time to make sure that there are no contaminants under the soil?
We've done a subterranean analysis to the extent we can adjacent to the buildings as we've done our due diligence. And then as we get into the building, we'll continue to do that under the building so that we'll have a complete and total record of exactly what's there and what was removed and how it was removed and a clean bill of health on the property after that.
So if you are required to do a Phase 2 environmental study, and then the remediation of the soil after that, has that been sort of figured into your outlook, and estimate of how much this project is going to cost?
It has.
Good short answer. Thank you.
Counselor Quinn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Hey, thanks, Chris, for being here. A couple of questions on some building use. I was asked how much retail-ish are we looking at having? There was a few residents I spoke to that wish they had more retail-y kind of things closer in their neighborhood, which was surrounding Lutheran.
Sure. The obligation is to have a minimum of 10,000 square feet. And again, I think that staff has been very thoughtful about how that works. It's going to be neighborhood-oriented, and it's going to be sized so that it accommodates the needs of the neighborhood. There's also a concern about making sure it doesn't compete with all that you've got going out here on Wadsworth and 38th. You know, that's Main Street as far as Wheat Ridge is concerned, and we don't want to be in a competition with that. We'd rather be complementary to all of the retail that you've already got coming.
And Councilor Quinn, this is not really a retail site from a retailer's standpoint, developer. It's just too far off a main thoroughfare. We have vacancies still at 38th and Watts that we can't even fill, and we're probably going to have a lot of redevelopment along Watts, I hope, once the Watts construction project's done. So, and as Chris mentioned, that was part of the master planning process. What we heard from a lot of our residents that they didn't want us to compete with what's happening on 38th Avenue. We believe this is very walkable to 38th Avenue or to our Main Street downtown as well. And I think one of the goals out of the city plan was to make sure that we're connecting the two, 38th Avenue, Main Street. I'm not supposed to say downtown, right? Downtown, or I can say Main Street. 38th Avenue, Main Street, and this campus. So we'll be looking at how we make sure we connect those in some sort of way so that people feel like it's very walkable and safe.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And a couple of people asked me about repurposing is there going to be any reuse of the old hospital or any of those buildings, or are they all kaput?
For the most part, the buildings will be taken down. We will repurpose the material, however. Everything from concrete to asphalt to brick and plumbing and all of that will be repurposed. We'll try to do that with as much of the material as possible.
Outstanding. That's great. And my last and probably the worst question maybe, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people wondering about the noise since there's going to be an extensive demolition period. I'm sure we'll hear about it. I'm sure you will too. What do you have? What's your vision on controlling noise for the residents there?
We're really going to be careful and thoughtful about that. Everything from in terms of hours of operation to, in addition to noise, you're going to be concerned about dust. You're going to be concerned about all of that. And we're going to be employing all sorts of measures that address that. We're also going to be meeting with the community on a regular basis about that. You know, before very long, you're going to see barricades in place and fencing and so forth. And we want to explain how that works and what the expectation is for how long it's going to take, and updates on what we find, how we're doing, places that they can complain if they've got a concern. You know, if somebody's out there before they're supposed to be, then we want to know about it. And again, same thing with keeping the dust emissions and everything else in check.
Thank you very much for that.
Council Quinn, the other thing I'll add is that the building code actually regulates permissible hours of construction. That includes demolition, so it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you. Counselor Holteen.
Thank you. It was fun to get to see like a reminder of how we got here. It was like almost like the dawn of time. We should have started with dinosaurs. Like there were dinosaurs roaming these plains, right? But I think what was really exciting was to see how much we've actually accomplished this year to make this happen. So congratulations on officially owning a big chunk of Wheat Ridge. So
Thank you.
yeah. A couple of things. One is, can you just speak to some of your thinking now as you're working with different aspects of this, how sustainability is going to be part of integral to the design?
Well, I think that, again, we're going to repurpose as much of the existing facilities as we can. And we're also going to enhance and pursue alternative means of transportation, everything from bike lanes, significant bike lanes and access, pedestrian access, to landscaping materials, making sure that we're incorporating landscaping that is water tolerant and is in keeping with the historic use of plant materials in this part of the city, and taking advantage of some other opportunities from gardens to other things that we can do. We've had a lot of conversations with the Wheat Ridge Water District and Denver Water about being water wise, especially in terms of landscaping around the houses and other private spaces, as well as the public spaces. Make sure that we're taking advantage of those opportunities to really make this a 21st century community.
Great. Are you, as you're looking at some of the other builders that you might be working with, is things like net zero buildings or other type of building emissions conversations part of that?
Absolutely. We're talking about that. We even have one builder who's interested in doing geothermal. So
Booyah.
we're gonna look at that as a possibility as well, and see what we can do to enhance and encourage those kinds of things.
Yeah, at the scale, geothermal, like for more than one building is totally at scale economically. So it's exciting to hear that that's on the table. My library question got taken. I want to ask about art and public art for the site. We have our 1% for art, and I'm not sure how that runs through here, given the Metro District and the improvements. So I'm just wondering what the plan is for public art, and if that's in partnership with the city or if that's all going to be privately managed.
We expect to incorporate, I didn't realize that there was that specific requirement, but we were already going to do it anyway. So I mentioned before that we want to honor the history of the campus, and we want to do some things, some art-focused areas that accomplish that, and that we encourage folks within the community to participate, perhaps have some contests and some other opportunities for people to step up and do it. Could be really exciting. We think it'd be great.
Excellent. One more question and then just one comment. So in the site plan, and you don't have to go back to it, but there was a substantial orange area that's around the existing commercial buildings, and I'm assuming that's surface parking in the site plan?
Probably better find it, huh?
Yeah. It doesn't say it's anything, and it's currently surface parking. I mean, the renderings don't show surface parking because they're not.
Are you talking about this one?
Yeah. It's like a mix of multifamily, but I'm assuming the non-green area, is that a lot of surface parking principally?
You're talking about the sort of orangey
The
area in the
orange,
middle?
yeah.
That would be the location of the multifamily,
Okay.
but there will be open space integrated throughout that.
Okay. So it's a mix of parking and buildings.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is really exciting, and it's great to see the feedback from the community integrated. I think I've raised this concern before. I'm a little bit concerned about the big wall and the monument signage, like creating a barrier between existing neighborhoods and this new development. You know, it's been said many times here tonight, like the thoughtful integration of the surrounding community, and I get monument signage. The idea of like the civic campus being behind a wall, like the renderings make it not as inviting. And really, except for Fireside, I don't know of any communities in Wheat Ridge that actually have like a wall that separates them from the neighboring communities. So I would just ask that as this moves forward, we really think about how we maintain a membrane that makes it inviting. We're looking at a lot of really great public spaces, and we've really talked about activating around possible, I love the idea of the Blue House being used for a restaurant, hopefully a library, definitely civic use. And I just worry that a wall does not invite the community in as much. So that's just I rode through that on my way up here. And I think one of the things that I love about Wheat Ridge is that the neighborhoods really do integrate, and you can go from one neighborhood to another. So just really thinking about what that pedestrian experience is like, and how we're really drawing in our existing communities, because it's my district across the street, and they really, I mean, I don't think they want to feel like it's not part of their community as well. So I do love that it's being sensitive with the blonde brick, and I do know that like we want it to have an identity. I'm just a little not a huge fan of big walls right now. So that is my one piece of feedback that I'd like to give.
Well, I promise we won't put walls all the way around it. The goal was to show you an entryway treatment, not, and I didn't mean to suggest that we would do that all the way around the community. That would just be how the entryway was treated. But you have some great points, and I think that we want to make sure that we utilize the awesome landscaping that we have out there today and augment that. And as Lauren mentioned, there is the tree requirements that we have. We have to meet at least what is there or exceed that in terms of caliper inches and so forth. And using landscaping can achieve a lot of that all by itself. So
Great. Well, thanks for all your thoughtful work on this. Looking forward to seeing the first buildings coming down.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a similar comment regarding the wall at the entrance, and then one of the other renderings, the pictures of the entryways showed the wall kind of very prominent where it says legacy, but then there was another slide where the wall looked like it was lower. Visually, I really liked that lower wall where it kind of had some separation, but also you could see past it. Similar to Councilor Hulteen, I would really like people traveling on 38th to see our Civic Center and not have too much of a barrier of that sight line. So I concur with my co-counselor on that. I really liked the presentation around all the amenities near the Civic Center and near the Blue House. Will some of those types of amenities be in the smaller pockets of open space? I'm thinking about maybe community garden space or an area where dogs could be off leash in some of those smaller pockets of open space.
Yeah, the whole menu of uses is on the table, and we're looking at that. We want to make sure that those are integrated. As I mentioned too, there's some of the future homes that are geared towards certain demographic, and so we want to make sure that we're sensitive to the kinds of uses within the open spaces, park areas, based upon that. But yeah, we're gonna make it part of the whole thing.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this presentation. Just one quick question on the civic area, the summer play, game lawn, and winter ice rink. That, I'm assuming that's like an artificial turf, that area, the little,
Correct.
yep. So integrating an ice rink would be, I'm already skating there, so I'm sad.
Good.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really appreciate it. And I just want to commend you on on your thoughtful approach and really listening. I think this is, like we've said, and we all know, this is a huge opportunity for our community. You rarely find this anywhere in any greater metropolitan area. And so I'd like to just commend you for your thoughtful approach and the way that you're really listening and continue to listen and continue to listen. And we're happy to work with you and grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Counselor Wood?
This question may have been already addressed a little bit, but I keep thinking about it because I didn't quite grasp it. And I'm wondering about, what I'm trying to get a handle on is the period of time for development that you anticipate, and anything that you do know at this point about phasing, because I think that's always a real key in development, is what comes first and second. And that may not be known at this point in time, but to the extent that you have thoughts on what might occur or what you might like to occur, or even when we would know more about it, I would be interested in that.
Sure. At the present, we have things that we're working on with a handful of home builders that would first devote their energies to doing the perimeter, the housing on the outside, if you will. And then we also have a strong interest in the multifamily portion, which would be just south of the Civic site. And I would expect that would come on about the same time as some of those things would. And in terms of that, it's probably going to be a couple of years before you start seeing new things sprout. We have to get through Lauren's process, which she assures us is going to be easy, or not terribly hard. And then we have to do the demolition and then commence construction from there. So it's probably a couple of years before you start to see new things happen out there. But it'll happen based upon the market. I would say it's probably a 5+ year time period to go through all of that and get things moving along.
Thank you. Counselor Rome?
Thank you, Mayor. So one question I did have was just this is a little bit staff related. Is there going to be something in that we could have, like I'll just call it a journey of how this is, like a What's Up Wheat Ridge, kind of like what we do at the Wadsworth. Here's some of the progress. I think that would be important to, like, this is, demo's here's a rough idea when this might be happening. But I also think a lot of people would be interested in the journey part of, like, yes, we're going to be demoing them, but we're also going to be reusing some of these bricks, and this is where we're going to be reusing it. Like, kind of just telling that story as it's kind of progressing, I think would be very interesting, to pull in support and pull in people, and so they, feel that connection. Those are some ideas. And I know along Dudley, there's one house, I think it might be a group home now, that has these blonde columns with what I assume was some type of wrought iron fence at one time that has been taken down. And so, what is being proposed, kind of that short wall with a fence is going to go along very nicely along that street. And perhaps that's maybe what some of the other Councilmember Houghton is suggesting of maybe mixing at that entry of having that short brick wall and then having kind of that fence on top of it to just make it a little more transparent. I really appreciate pulling in the historic materials. That's, and this is now I'm on my comment streak. I don't know who had the idea for the holiday tree, in the middle. I love that. I love having the potential of the ice rink. Really, looking at the two, keeping the chapel, keeping the Blue House, but also really celebrating those spaces inside and out. I think that's going to be really hugely important and really tie people to, that what we're doing for Wheat Ridge. I would love to go out there and be in those spaces once those are built. They're going to be incredible spaces. and just being inside the chapel with all the light, I'm really, really happy that's going on. And then having all these connections with the open space, looking at the two different iterations of where you had this one that had the one diagonal but none, and the later one that's going back into that civic space is kind of you keep tying these open spaces to each other. I think that just is really going to make the project a wonderful project, really interesting. And as we're kind of moving around, I keep looking at different spaces and what they have to offer. And so, you know, you have some playgrounds here, you have some outdoor eateries there. You're really checking a lot of boxes to, you know, try to make this work for everybody. And really appreciate, you know, how far you've come. And I know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work with, you know, staff, and staff has done a great job of trying to make this, you know, move things forward. I know this is a heavy lift, and it's really big for our community, and it's been a long journey, and I can't wait for it to just, you know, start seeing even it's the demolition, but those are the two big things I'd love to see, is like the status, and then just telling us your story over time. I think that'd be really interesting. Thank you.
Great idea.
Counselor Hulteen.
Sorry, I want to give some kudos. The more I look at the site, I mean, what a bonkers site to have to work with. I mean, it's got existing buildings, it's got a ditch, it's like irregular size, it's got historic buildings. And so I just really want to recognize First City staff for really stepping in with the process that we did, because I can imagine if we had not done that process, that it would be a really long, drawn out, unclear, really challenging uncertainty process that would not result in something that clearly reflects what our community wants. So I want to first thank staff for like pulling the emergency brake and being like, there's going to be a much better, that foresight is really coming back to us in dividends now. And then I just really want to recognize Chris and your team for taking a regular site that has had a lot of community feedback, because I mean, everything the community has said is reflected in here, down to bike lanes and trees. And so I just want to acknowledge like the partnership between city staff, council, our community, even though, you know, it's not what everyone in the community loves, it is definitely reflecting what we've heard from our community. So I just want to take a minute to just, because the more I look at it, I'm like, this site is just, it's bonkers and really challenging. And I just think everyone's done a great job with it. So I just want to take a moment to celebrate that, because it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of hard work ahead, but I think the important work's behind.
Thank you. Counselor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. This is more a city question. Does the approval of the urban renewal plan make the public art plan a requirement of this project and that public art plan process?
The public art plan is separate from the urban renewal plan. We have a separate council adopted public art plan, as I think Councilmember Hulteen mentioned, where 1% of it is associated with urban renewal. Any urban renewal project, 1% of the budget goes towards public art. But then we also have a second pot for public art as well, where the 1% of all of the building permit fees, plan review fees.
And use tax for any permit valued over $100,000.
It's a complicated public art process. We're going to bring it back and probably clean it up, hopefully, but
That
yes.
would be great.
But yes, it's
I
connected
chaired
to
the
urban
Cultural Commission for 3 years, and I don't understand.
I
it, so
know.
I get it.
Yeah.
My real question is, will there be one of those public art committees
Yes,
formed for this?
yes, definitely.
Fantastic. I'm super excited. Thank you.
Counselor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. In the interest of keeping the questions at the table and not mulling it over too late into my life, but the library, I want to dig just a layer deeper. It's maybe an unfair question because it would be asking you guys to kind of like speak on behalf of the interests of the library district. But do we know what, for a layperson like me, seeing the library on there in the initial drawings was super exciting. It felt like a slam dunk. But I'm sure that there's some reasonable reasons why the library district is hesitating.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place. I feel bad talking about them, they're not being here, but not much clear direction from them. It was frustrating, and we did picture them in a wing of part of the city that connected to the municipal center, connected to the chapel. They had a lot of reasons why that it wouldn't work for them. Parking, distance, they have a unique business model today where they have drive-through or a lot of drop-off books. So Lauren, looks like you may want to add to this. We're still waiting for some clear direction from them on what they need today in Wheat Ridge so we can see if we can fit it in. I think Chris is still willing to work with them if we can make it work, but we need direction from them.
Yeah, the sense that I've gotten is it's really a timing issue. I think they see the compatibility there as well. They've been managing a couple really big capital projects elsewhere in the district. So new library down south and some work in Arvada and elsewhere that they described. So just bandwidth wise, they weren't able to accelerate an analysis and a public engagement process that they said is sort of mandatory before they could answer our questions. I also got the sense that they finance their projects differently than we do. Often without any debt and cash only, and that drives a lot of their capital decisions. That's a board decision that's been, it sounds like, very consistent over several versions of the board, and it's a significant limiting factor. So we got one answer that said maybe 5,000 square feet, and the next time they gave an answer, it was 50,000 square feet. So they're still really trying to figure out, and I think don't have the bandwidth to align their needs with the timeline that we have and that E5X has for the site. So we've toured them, Patrick personally toured them around
We
multiple
brought them in
sites in
from the
Wheat
very
Ridge.
beginning. Yeah,
yeah.
toured them around numerous sites in Wheat Ridge, and Chris has met with them 3 or 4
Many
times.
times.
Many times.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we're not done. We're
Yeah.
hoping they'll come back and maybe we can make something work, but we're waiting for them at this point.
Super interesting. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from council? Council, it looks like there's some recommendations here from the staff. Do we need a consensus? to move
Yeah,
that
I
forward?
think the biggest consensus we're looking for right now is, should we continue moving forward on this land exchange agreement concept? That's City Hall, new Civic Center on the Lutheran campus. We'll get into the more details in the future with you. We don't have to approve everything tonight. There's still a lot to do. We have to figure out financing. We have to figure out final design. We have to agree on the land exchange agreement. But that is the concept that we're looking at right now. That's probably the only way we can make this work, is to sell this property. That would be one revenue source. We are going to generate quite a bit of revenue from use tax and permit fees also from the site, which that money can go towards this project. But there's probably a couple other more gaps of that financial stack there that we need to talk about on how to make this work. So that's why this agreement that, Mr. Dahl, if you want to talk to it, if you feel free, but it has the due diligence period, which is fairly significant, 180 days plus additional time if there's a phase 2 required. And then there's also this reverter, is that what we're calling it? Reverter, where either party can get their property back if it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So long story short, that's the consensus we're looking for. Should we continue moving forward on that piece? Everything else it will move forward. Because it's under in Lauren's shop. It's Lauren's process.
It's in my court.
That piece is, we don't need, that's just going to happen. So,
And you're not seeing the agreement, so we're not asking you to approve the
Yeah,
agreement
yeah.
tonight, but just green light to keep moving forward in good faith in what will become more serious negotiations on all those deal points, which will come back to you. in
yeah,
more
we just got
detail.
some response back from Chris's team the last few days. So we're going to meet internally and go over those and try to bring back an agreement to you at the first of next year.
Counselor Snow?
Just really quick, how many approximate acres is Hayward Park? Ooh, sorry.
Hayward, about 5, I believe. Is that what we saw? It's about 9 total here, and about 5 of it's Hayward, and the rest is city property.
Yeah, okay,
Yep,
thank you.
Yep. Counselor Hulteen?
So in asking for this consensus support, like what, are there costs involved with it, or is it just staff time and Dahl's time? Like, what does the consensus like enable? Yeah, I'm curious, like, why the consensus on it, and like what does it actually
Yeah, the
entail?
consensus will mainly at this point direct staff to continue moving forward on hiring an architect to come up with the next level of planning. We'll have to bring that back to you for the cost on that. There will be a cost for that. Consensus to bring back a land exchange agreement in the next couple of months so that we have a framework to move forward on that piece of it. And starting to look at financing options. We are hopefully going to have a retreat potentially for your new council members. Maybe this spring, we've been talking about it, to look at revenue sources for not just this, but as you mentioned, Councilmember Holteen, you would like to look at a dedicated revenue source for capital projects in the future. But we have other large commitments, our outdoor pool, the civic center, stormwater fee that we kind of want to talk about outside of a vacuum so that we can look at the next 10 years and figure out how we're going to fund all this. Could require going to the voters for a sales tax potentially, and so that we could issue bonds as well.
So I'm asking just because everything you just said has been, it's niggling in the back of my
Yep.
brain too. And so I'm just cognizant of like the timing and sequencing of information available to us as we like continue down this road. I'm supporting it and we'll give support for a consensus to continue down this, but I just want to be cognizant that we have a lot of things coming together all at once. And so making decisions with half of the information as some of these like bigger items all start to come together.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to know that this spring we'll be looking at how these align across like our needs and our ability to be creative and have to go to voters on capital issues. I think will be really helpful. So thanks for giving a little bit more context around that. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion before we ask for a consensus? All right, do we have consensus to move this forward and continue the process? We have consensus, it looks like everybody. Anything else on this item, Mr. Dahl? No? All right, then we will go to item number 2, staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This is our last meeting for the year. I think we come back on January 7th, so hopefully you all get some time to rest. A couple other things. We are planning for our annual point in time count. You all familiar with that? That's it's mandated by HUD that we do an annual count of our individuals that are experiencing homelessness in our community. And so we will be looking for volunteers if that's something you're interested in, or if you have community members, they can go to the Jefferson County website and sign up. It'd be January 26th at sunset through January 27th. So probably the coldest day of the year seems to be. But if you're any interested in that, we can get you more information. You may have seen some information. There's high winds and elevated temperatures projected for the rest of the week. And Excel is potentially looking at public safety power shutoffs, which could impact Wheat Ridge and surrounding areas. You may have more information than I do. We are meeting tomorrow with our emergency management team and Excel to talk about what this potentially could look like. They're shooting right now for potentially Wednesday, noonish time frame, if things continue to move forward with the wind and heat that's forecasted. So there may be some possibilities that we'll have to close some city facilities if they do cut the power. We don't know. We don't have tons of information right now on timing and how long it would last. And so just a heads up there. We'll keep you up to date as we learn more tomorrow. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. We'll go to elected officials reports. Do we have any? Councilor Holteen?
Thanks, I feel like I'm talking a lot tonight. So first of all, happy CFIs week. Yeah. Okay, remember I was going to say pop quiz. Who has driven the CFI, Counselor? Yeah. I'm seeing some. Okay, all right.
It's easy tonight.
I've done it a couple times. It's intuitive. I think maybe the rest of the construction makes it a little confusing right now. But 38th is open, 44th opens tomorrow. that's my CFI. So anyway, I encourage people, if you haven't given it a try, go ahead and do it. And if you're at all nervous, try it at a time where it's not in the middle of rush hour so that you feel comfortable doing that. I also want to just say happy Hanukkah and also recognize a lot of my neighbors and our community members have really been shaken by the news out of Australia. And this is just a really troubling news. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who are just really shaken by it. So I just want to acknowledge this Hanukkah season has started on a dark and troubling note, but we have neighbors around us celebrating, and I hope they're home and warm tonight. And then I just want to make mention, there's nothing anyone in this room can do, but we have a really mangy coyote in our neighborhood. And all of my neighbors are calling the city about it. There's nothing the city can do. There's really nothing that Colorado Parks and Wildlife can do. So it's really unfortunate. There may be more than one mangy coyote, but there's one in our neighborhood that's really taken a turn lately. Is in just really bad shape. So when you see that, the best thing you can do is kind of spook it out of your neighborhood. But do keep your pets in. If they're out during the daytime, it's because they're not well. So anywho, with that, happy rest of the holidays, and I'm looking forward to getting back at it in early 2026 with y'all.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
And thank you, Mayor. And I would very strongly like to repeat the emphasis on this Wednesday. We did get the notice. Everybody should have gotten a phone call from a nice recorded voice at Excel. The city of Wheat Ridge is not typically considered a high fire risk, but as we saw in April of 2024, high winds can cause some serious damage. I know personally, the 3-block area around my house at that time was without power for almost 2.5 days. And so be aware of that. If you have neighbors that rely on electrically powered medical devices or anything like that, if your power does go out, knock on their door. That's just being a good neighbor. But again, the issue this Wednesday is the high winds, and they expect them to be pretty high, but they were wrong about the last snowstorm too. So we'll see how accurate they are. The other thing is today, December 15th, I'd like to observe that this is National Bill of Rights Day. The ratification of the 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution that granted us the freedom of speech, press, religion, and criminal justice. These are so important. They were ratified on this day in, I believe, 1790. Some of the best sites to read more about the significance of the Bill of Rights includes the National Archives, the Bill of Rights Institute, the Library of Congress. As Americans, we owe our freedoms and liberties to this remarkable document. When you have a few minutes, give it a look.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Ohm?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just want to thank all my fellow council members. We have a great council, everybody, and great staff, and everybody's been very civil and respectful, and that's something we should really, cherish. There's other municipalities that aren't so lucky, and then even, when I've gone out and done shopping, I had one guy that thought he had cut me off with the cart and apologized, and I just thought like, wow, maybe things are a little bit different, and I really appreciate that, that we're looking out for each other. And so I've just, ask all my constituents, look out for your community. We're going to get some snow eventually, and when there's people that can't shovel, please help out. It's easy to, kind of judge and say, why aren't they doing that? But sometimes we just have to ask the why and lend a hand. So thank you, everyone.
Councilor Quinn?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. My day job is at Excel. I don't run the power company, so I don't know what's going on. All I do is, we all got the same email. It's going to be windy, apparently very windy, and all of our linemen and gas fitters are gearing up for what could be kind of a rough day with the PSPs and the just if something falls down, putting it all back up. One of this other hats that I happen to wear is I'm appointed to what was the Tri-County Workforce Development Board, and it's the three counties are Jefferson County, Gilpin, and Clear Creek. And they're going through a little rebranding. It's going to be just Workforce Colorado, Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek. But the board I'm on was awarded what they call a High Performing Board Award from the CDLE. And that's kind of a way bigger deal than I anticipated when I was there Tuesday for the board meeting. 3 of 5 awards from the CDLE for Excellent Business Awards went to our board, and 5 of 9 individual awards went to that board, and so they're doing a lot as far as helping those job seekers and employers connect, and they're offering a lot of services and education for folks looking for work. So that, I'm going to take a Microsoft Excel course because I'm terrible at spreadsheets, believe it or not. And I need to up my game a little bit on all of that. So that workforce board is there for all of our folks. Wheat Ridge was in the report that they gave us that we've got like 7% uptick in work, people going to work in Wheat Ridge. So we're moving forward. Hopefully, this project at Lutheran will get us a few more percentage points on that. I also attended the mayor's first Coffee with the Mayor at Stylus and Crate. Was a great time. And then I also did a little volunteer work with the police department's Christmas Crusade for Kids. I did a couple hours. I did a couple hours of down there stacking whatever people brought in into the different rooms, and makes your heart feel good, right, to what Scott had said. So that was my busy week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple quick updates. Councilor Snell and I had our first District 1 meeting last week and had a small but really engaged group show up, and we actually had some other council members and the mayor join us for part of our meeting. So we've kicked off our district meeting tour, if you will. We're also going to be doing Tuesday morning coffees starting in January, so we look forward to more opportunities to engage with our district. I do also want to say that I was lucky to attend the Barstool Bingo VIP tent last week as well, and saw some of you there. And I'm just very grateful for our community for the money that was raised through Local Works for the Clear Creek Makerspace. As a captain and volunteer there, I'm very appreciative of those funds and the development and expansion we are on the cusp of doing. And also to highlight Clear Creek Makerspace, I wanted to give a shout out to some of the volunteers there, and just some of the makers have, just as participants, taken it upon themselves to stand up 2 projects that they're working on where they're making toys. With the 3D printers and the laser cutters, they're making toys that the Makerspace is donating some seed money, but they're paying and they're donating their time and assembling toys to donate to some of the toy drives in our community. And it was just somebody's idea to say, I know we can all donate toys, but we're makers, let's make them. So there's a bunch of toys going out to toy drives being made by the Clear Creek Makerspace volunteers. And I think that's a great example of the community that is coming out of that space. So keep up the good work, Makerspace. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Snell.
Just to add on to what Councilor Martell was just mentioning in our meeting last week, I just wanted to recognize again the residents that joined us and that brought some of the issues that they're having. And as you might guess, they're with traffic and speeding, but I just wanted to recognize folks for coming and being engaged. And we want to continue that trend and to make sure that we're accessible and listening and hopefully finding solutions, but just recognize some of those folks that joined us last week. And the other thought that I had just went out of my head. I am, it happens. I just wanted to also kind of echo what I've heard from a few of my colleagues and in this season especially, but I would say all the time, but especially now, kindness is everything. And anytime you can help a neighbor, anytime you can, look out for someone or get that extra toy or extra, something, a food item, it's always helpful. Never a bad idea to choose kindness. So I'm so grateful that you all mentioned that in different ways. It's crazy that we're not meeting again until next year. So I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and a lot of safety and a lot of love and a lot of good food and everything that goes with it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of good food, at the District 1 meeting, there was some delicious soups there. So I think it's worth acknowledging the talent on the council. Thanks, Jenny. Those were really delicious. This last Saturday, I got a chance to go to the monthly Historical Society event where they had a holiday-themed event. There was some Christmas carols in the Bauhaus. And it was a great opportunity to talk to the volunteers that the Historical Society has and learn more about the dedication and the hard work that goes along with being the preservationists of the history of our city and all the important things that our city has gone through. But yeah, thank you to the Historical Society for that. Happy holidays. I want to echo those sentiments. The holiday season, I always like to acknowledge, can be a heavy-hearted time for many people, whether it's somebody that's no longer, a family member that's no longer at the dinner table, or people who are experiencing loneliness. Those are definitely things worth acknowledging. And Wheat Ridge is certainly the community that where I've seen the most examples during my time in the Front Range of even strangers just reaching out and being able to help each other and get to that place. So, so Councilor Ohm, the sentiment that you're talking about earlier, definitely felt that in very similar ways throughout my time in this season. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Wood.
Okay, you guys, I learned so much from you all, and I have much to learn to be able to come here and share as you have shared. But next time, I promise I'll have more to share. I was going to go CFI because I got out of my comfort zone and gave that a try, and it really is intuitive. I agree. I still feel like I need to get used to it. But what I really want to say is, again, I do learn so much from all of you. I am so glad to be here. I know I've said it once. Next time I'll really have something substantive. But it's just so nice to be a part of a group of people who work together so well, who clearly like each other, who clearly enjoy their work, who are clearly passionate about it. So thank you again. I'll come up to speed. And Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, just a couple things. I also went to Barstool Bingo, had the opportunity to hang out in the tent with the chickens and met guys, ladies, and they were all very sweet. Especially, I thought Madonna was really nice, really nice. Cher was also fantastic. But I believe Local Works was able to raise $10,000, just over $10,000. I know their goal was 15, so feel free to continue to give and share with them. I also joined several of you for the holiday lunch with the Business Association, and they recognized former Mayor Starker, who's fantastic. That's maybe one of his last awards he might be getting for a while, but he's probably got a couple more coming his way. But always great to get with fellow business owners in the community and really see how they're celebrating the holidays, and they seem like they were really ready to make Wheat Ridge a pretty happening place in 26. I also want to recognize everybody who came to Councilor Snell and Councilor Martell's District 1 meeting. That soup was phenomenal, Jenny, so thank you for putting that together. It's really fantastic. And then Saturday, coffee with the mayor, everybody who came for my first official coffee with Mayor. great turnout. Stylus and Crate were great hosts as always. Stylus always does a fantastic job. So we're going to look to move those around a little bit in the coming months and year, just to kind of let people see some different venues and go places where they don't normally go. And so hopefully that'll attract some new people and some new people to new businesses, because it's important to do that. I also joined Councilor Okada and Councilor Larson at the Bauhaus on Saturday, and the Historical Society people put on a great show, and my daughter enjoyed caroling with them and some of the old food and stuff that they had there. So it's great to be a member of this Historical Society as well. We have it gets dark earlier, so please be safe as kids are going to and from school this week and then home for the next couple weeks. So just watch out for all the people that are on the streets. We will be back here January 5th, I believe it is, which is a Monday. So I think that's a study session. So we have the next 2 Mondays off. So everybody enjoy your holidays. If you can find your gifts and your food, find it, buy it in Wheat Ridge. And be safe out there. Thank you very much. With nothing else, we will adjourn this study session, and we'll see everybody next year.